So we're on the line with Carl Cox now, busy in the midst of a regular tour season. How's the most recent tour been going?
Yeah, tour's been pretty good. I mean, I've only just got myself here into Canada, but before here, I did my first gig last weekend in Los Angeles at a party called Nocturnal Wonderland, which is one of the big kind of festival parties which they do in LA once a year. And this year, I was headlining with Christopher Lawrence and also Paul Van Dyke and the Chemical Brothers. Meanwhile, there was about 25,000 people in downtown LA, which I've never played downtown before. This is something which was a very interesting venue, to say the least, and there was a lot of support for this party. It was absolutely amazing. It finished at 4 o'clock in the morning, so you had a lot of people there until the end, and I was on actually between the hours of 10 and 11:30. So for me, I had a really good time when people are fresh and they're ready to rock, and yeah, I was really, really pleased with that. So now here in Canada, what I need to do this weekend at Government, Windsor, and Montreal at Stereo. So I'm really looking forward to be doing those gigs soon.
Is a party like that in LA comparable to, say, something over in Europe, one of the bigger festivals?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, LA's always had a decent kind of scene when it comes to dance music in some ways, Initially in America, things were either hot or they're not, The thing is about LA, it's always been up and down, it being Hollywood and all, things happen in a grandeur type of thing, or they kind of fizzle out and everyone goes to smaller clubs and listens to different music. But I do believe that they've always had, when it comes to a really good party like this, that people make the effort to come and really enjoy themselves, and this was a great testament to that. The Nocturnal Wonderland was a great party, and basically showed a lot of people here in the US what can happen if everyone else around allows it to happen, and it can happen. There was no hitches. Everyone had a really great time, and I'm sure it will continue to be successful.
Is there a location other than that you would like to redo, either because it was really good or because there were some problems and you just wanted to fix it?
No, not really. I mean, most of the places I do play go really well. I mean, not everywhere is always amazing and fantastic like that, but you kind of make do with the best that you have. So even if there's like 400 people, in a venue for 1,000 people, at least the 400 people having a really good time. If I do ever get to go back to any of these places afterwards, there'll be 800 people. So sometimes these parties can go off really well, or sometimes you just have to build them. But I don't feel the necessity to go back or to redo anything. It's just something which, if I can get back to some initial places which wasn't so good to begin with, and then for sure, it'd be nice to go back and to create my sound there again, and for people to see that this is just not here for for the season. It will come around again a year after year after year.
Can you think of the biggest mishap you've had on tour at some point over your career?
There hasn't really been too many mishaps, but I mean, there's been certainly some kind of like strange elements that happen that sometimes at some of these parties. There was one party in Ottawa where these promoters were having, they were kind of creating this 2-day event where you can camp out and everything, and this was going back in like 1992, 93, where in the end, there were, out of 10,000 people, only 100 people turned up. So no one got paid. No one had their hotels booked. No one had any car service to take them to and from the venue. The people that came got stranded. I actually DJ'd, but before I could play any more music, I had to put some money in the bucket so the sound system guys can get some money, and then we had to ask the people that were there if they could put some money in the bucket so the sound guys had some sort of money to go home with, and even though that the sound guys put the sound on for at least 2 hours so we can have some sort of party, it was an outdoor event, and I got bitten by about 100 mosquitoes at the same time. So yeah, this was one of those parties which I'll never forget, I have to say.
What's the worst thing about touring in general?
I think a lot of it it's about being away, is that you don't get to see your family or your friends that much. I I mean, I have a lot of associates and associate friends when I'm away, but my true friends are still back at home in England, and with that, it's, you know, when you're away from them for so long, it's, you know, it can become a difficult thing. Because I grew up with a lot of my friends and that, which are not on tour with me. But meanwhile, you know, when you're not seeing your family as well after so long, you know, it becomes something which you don't really want to miss out on. You know, I have a niece as well, and she's growing up now to be a young woman. And, you know, I remember when she was born, and she is now 16 years old. I'm just thinking, my God, this time's going so fast that I haven't even seen her grow up, really. But so, you know, this is one of the biggest things which can affect you in some ways. So you have to try and have a balance between how much you do tour and how much you have, which is your own time.
Now, do you have any new productions on the way out?
Yeah, I've basically been working on a new album with some new tracks, because what I would like to do initially is to make the next album kind of live and work with some musicians and stuff like that, where I can basically create kind of like a DJ stroke live concept element to the next wave of Cox Oct music. For this, you know, I will start working on new material for next year, where I'll be able to release the new album based on its live elements. I had already been kind of utilising this idea with parties which I did last year, called Cox Oct and Friends, where we kind of touched on the idea that we could do this, and this would be something that I'm kind of working on at the moment, where I'm able to actually perform these records which were created in the studio.
Are you using a specific software to do that, or have you come up with something your own? Or
yeah, I mean, the kind of software that I'm using at the moment is called Ableton Live, and this is something which I feel that I can really utilise when I'm actually creating my live sound. But I still use the elements of drummers and guitarists and percussionists and also vocalists around the tracks. So therefore, you know, I'm still creating a kind of like a band element through the electronics way of what I'm doing in the sense of creating music. I think people still need to see that, you know, someone's still hitting some skins. I still feel that people can still see that someone's hitting the guitar, and also, you know, vocalists as well are complementing the tracks and stuff like that as a live element. And I enjoy doing it. It's a difficult thing to be involved in, but if you can pull it off, it's a wonderful thing.
We'll bring Mr. Scumfrog down during your set, because he definitely does some of those crazy live elements as well.
Sorry, he's kind of dropping out again, sorry?
We definitely bring Mr. Scumfrog down for your set, because he does some of those crazy live elements as well. Yeah,
well, this is something which I think he needed to feel that he needs to do as well, which is great. I like the idea that, you know, that more people are thinking this way. Because, you know, us as DJs, yeah, we make music, we DJ and we play with people's music when we're out. But there's nothing better than to for people to see that at the end of the day we can pull people, you know, talented people together that can also help us perform this music live as well. And I think for people, they can see that we're actually pushing the boundaries of that as well, which I think is really important too.
Now, do you have a new track in your bag that you're just itching to drop?
I mean, there's many new records which are out at the moment, which is just absolutely fantastic. Itching to drop wise is a new kind of producer called Steve Mulder from Rotterdam in Holland, and this guy's been up and coming over the last year or so, making some really good tracks. And he only sent me a record yesterday on the computer, which I was able to download, which I haven't played yet. It's called Signature. So I think this is going to be one of the records that you're going to be hearing a lot of in the near and distant future.
Do you get a lot of your music through promos and people sending, or do you still find yourself browsing online and through the record shops for material?
Well, things have changed now, you know, in the sense of how we used to obtain music, you know, by going into the record store and stuff like that. I mean, people when I on tour, they make their music and they come to me and they give me their CDs or that tape or anything that I'm able to play the music from and just see what I think. But primarily now it's all down to sending files. You send it files that I get sent. I've got to have an FTP file which a lot of producers send their music up to. And me being away for so much and being in many hotel rooms, I can get online and obtain this music. So it's something which has now, you know, change the face of how you obtain music, but meanwhile it's the quickest form. You know, if you finish your track yesterday and you wanted me to hear it today, and then maybe play it on the weekend, and then downloading it to me or uploading it to me is the quickest form of me obtaining your track. Or even if it isn't right for me to play it and they want me to basically to see if I like it or is there anything to change on it, and then instantly I can basically give them my comment, and then maybe if they do those changes, that could be the very thing that makes it better than what it is.
Now, is there someone from your past that you wish would just produce one more track so you could play it out?
Well, this is going right back to 1987, 1988. There's a guy called Adonis from Chicago who put a record out on Trax record label many years ago, and he did a track called No Way Back and another track called The Poke, and that's the only two tracks which Adonis kind of like was known for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what he's doing now because I haven't seen this name banded around at all over the many years. But these were Cox Oct tunes. When he put these records out and when he made them, I was behind these two records severely. And yeah, I would love for him to to come back and show us, the way forward again with his initial sound of what he created many years ago.
Well, maybe you should see if you can get in touch with him and ask him to maybe work on your remix competition that you're doing with Beatport. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, this is something which kind of just came out as a point of interest. There's a DJ called Yusuf from the UK, and he decided that he wanted to make a remix of a track which I made in 1991. And bring it to the forefront of what can be created, and so he did this initial remix of this track called "I Want You Forever," and for me at the time was one of the biggest records that came out from a DJ's point of view in the UK and all over Europe, and with that there's been a lot of interest on people getting their hands on the samples to be able to remix it and make their own interpretation of this track themselves. Because he felt like he did a pretty good remix on it, but what did other people think? For me, it was just something which I never commissioned. It was just something which came up, and for me, it was just it's just interesting to see what people could make from it as something which, the samples are there, the sounds there, and the things about that it's a record that many people don't know that I made also. So it's created a lot of interest based on the subject matter of who I am, and people getting their hands on Cox Oct samples or Cox Oct track, which, if they have an opportunity for this mix to come to the forefront, and then, you can have a go at it yourself if you wanted to, and see what you can make from it. But it's definitely interesting to see what can happen with something which came out nearly 13 years ago.
Can you recall your first ever gig and who it was for and why?
Well, my first ever gig, I have to say, with a friend of mine called Leroy James. It was my mum, actually, that booked me to do a wedding for her brother many, many, many moons ago. And so we got our sound system, our speakers and our lights and stuff, and we had our music and what we wanted to play for the wedding. And it was one of my mum's proudest moments anyway, based on that. She booked me to play my first ever gig for friends of hers. But we had a hall for about 150 people, and we had just the best time. Everything was completely amazing based on my music selection and how we played the music for that wedding. It just gave me the confidence to go on and to do more, really. And with that, we was able to play traditional kind of wedding music, but also bring our own style of soul and funk to the party as well, which was just great. So we managed to capture everyone in the realms of music with all the selection of music that we played because when you're doing a wedding, it's not like doing a dance party event at all. You have people who have different tastes in music, so you have to supply that type of sound as well. But it's all down to how you put it all together. And for me, this was something which definitely kick-started something off for me based on playing music to people. It's a difficult thing when you're starting out because you just don't know how people are going to accept you by what you're doing. But, you will never know until you try. So, this was our first opportunity to excel, I suppose, based on what we believed in the realms of how we started as DJs.
And I guess finally, just to finish off, do you still get shivers when you step up to the stage for the first time of night and everyone starts to go nuts because you've arrived at the club?
Yeah, it's something. If you got like 25,000 people in front of you and you're on next, and the DJ before you's just rocked it. You just think, okay, what do I do? So you have to think on your feet real quick and make sure that your first record has the initial impact on where you're actually going to end up going next with your music. Because if you're on for the next 2 hours, you have to keep that point of interest and the attention to what on the reason why you're there for that duration. But for me, I've been there many times. So to begin with, you go through this kind of thing in your head of okay, what do I play next? Is people going to be into what I'm doing? And you just kind of go on like that. And then as soon as you play the first record, and then wham, everyone's got their hands in the air, they're clapping, they're happy that you're there, and then everything that you felt about before, and especially with how you feel, is gone, and now you're just looking forward to the next 2 hours to play your music. And I kind of go through that nearly every time that I play, but I think it's natural that you have this initial butterflies to begin with. I can never go in and think, right, I'm going to do really well. You have to earn it in such a way, and people will basically show you at the end of the day if you're doing a good job, and with that, that's the kind of understanding that you get as you're playing your set. But meanwhile, the beginning is always the hardest part of anyone's set, and once you got over the beginning, then the rest should be plain sailing.
And after a night like that, where you have a fantastic set, what is the ultimate end of the night finishing song?
I sometimes I finish quite hard in my music. Sometimes I finish off quite melodic. Most people don't want the night to end. It's always difficult trying to finish off something which you're creating, because if the party's going really well, you just don't want it to finish off like that. But if people are still there at the end of the night and they're still clapping and screaming and they want screaming for one more, that's the perfect end of the night.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you this coming weekend at the government anniversary party, and it's going to be a fantastic night, I can tell.
Oh, fantastic. It's going to be great. Really looking forward to it.